Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing competency mapping in details. So, what are the topics that we would be covering? We would be covering about the evolution, the definition provided by the various authors, the steps in competency mapping, effects on our human resource system altogether, at different level, let's say at an entry level, at the beginners level, at the middle level, at the senior most level, assessment and feedback based on the competency mapping, and last but not the least, the tools for developing evolution wise. At the very beginning, we were as a human being, as a race, were into agriculture livelihood. Everything was based on agriculture. But as life progressed and we moved from agriculture to production to mass production to industrial production, and by the way, beginning of 20th century, complex skills evolved in the job. Now, business process required specific, I repeat, specific competencies for the task at hand. People were getting specialized into a certain domain. Era of scientific management. Frederick W. Taylor's and Henry Ford's use of assembly line shifted from competency to time and motion study. And with the advent of World War II, approximately mid-centuries, enforced management-centric views altogether, where officers instructed their subordinates who basically were subservient in nature and obeyed and carried the instruction without any question. 1960s was the year when David McClelland wrote or published the landmark article on American psychologist that people should be hired based on their competencies rather than on the scores that they score in the examination or evaluation. 1973, McClellan developed new methods to predict human performances for United States information agencies. Objective was to eliminate potential biasness of traditional intelligence and aptitude tests. So any form of biasness or discrimination was eliminated, and competencies, abilities, traits were given much more precedence. The turning point was in 1973. Again, written by McClelland, an article published in American Psychologist. Equally noteworthy is the pioneering work of Douglas Bray and his associate at AT&T, which provided evidences that competencies can be assessed through assessment centers and job success can be predicted to a certain extent, which eventually became the rule of the game. Behavior event interviews was developed by McBurr to map the competencies. We will be talking about these competencies in depth during the course of this particular presentation. So performance shifted from potential appraisal to assessment centers in 1970s primarily. Any underlying characteristics required for performing a given task, given activity, or a role successfully can be considered as competencies. I repeat, any task, any activities, and any role which can be successfully completed, that characteristics is what we call as competencies. So, according to a different authors, United Nations Industrial Development, way back 20 years back, 2002, a competency is a set of skills, related knowledge, and attributes that allow an individual to successfully perform a task or an activity within a specific function or job. Ranking in 2002 again continuously, competencies are defined as skills and behaviors that organization expect their staff to practice in work. Mansfield 5 years earlier than 2002, that is in 1997, stated underlining characteristics of a person that result in effective superior performances. So, pictographically, if you want to represent, it is KSA's knowledge, skills, and attitude. If you look into it, and the concept of other characteristics like motives, traits, values, and self concepts. which builds up, which is the foundations to our observable behavior that is visible or that we display in our social dealing, day to day activities. So KSA and then something called O. We would love to go out with it. KSA is knowledge, skills, attitude, and other characteristics. What are they? They are motives, their intentions, the values, the principles, the traits, the habits, and the self concepts about your principles, about your faith, about what you believe in is the self concept. So these together makes competencies. Mind you, these together makes competencies. Competency, for this sake of this presentation, please remember this term will be coming more frequent, which is known as KSAO, knowledge, skills, attitude, and other characteristics as it stands for. So, competency mapping is identification of competencies required to perform successfully any given job, any role, or a set of tasks at any given point of time. It consists of breaking a role or job into small, minuscule activities or tasks, identifying the competencies needed to perform the same successfully. So, probably if you are talking about a position called reception or receptionist, as a receptionist, you not only to need to greet the guest, probably handle the mails, not only need to handle the mails, probably have some inquiries to attend to, do some sort of marketing activities, have an telephone etiquette manners that needs to be catered for, and at best if you can add on certain vendor handling capabilities. So a job of a receptionist has been broken down to a number of tasks: receiving mails, greeting guests, handling vendors, replying non-discriminate mails to regular communication, and so on. And so, competency map is a list and individual competency that represent the factors most critical to success in given jobs. I just gave you an example of a receptionist, a given department. It can be front office, it can be accounts, it can be marketing, organization, industry that are a part of an individual current career plan. Next is competency mapping, and this is where the job and the person needs to be fit in. A process an individual uses to identify and describe competency that is most critical for the success in the job situation, in the job role. With this competency map and competency mapping, so what are the requirements for a job and what are the fit between the job and the person, we now come to profiling of competencies. It is a process of identifying the knowledge, skills, abilities, attitude, and judgment required for effective performances in a particular occupation. So that is what the profiling is all about. It competency profiling comes up with the characteristic that a person or an incumbent should possess to acquire or be successful in the job. Competency mapping serves a number of purposes. What are they? Probably the following functions, which is known as gap analysis, role clarity, succession planning. Now, what is meant by gap analysis? So, we have something called established standard and then something called actual happening. If there are any discrepancies between actual and established standards, these discrepancies is known to be filled by gap analysis. There is a gap that has been defined in role clarity. I just gave you an example of a receptionist. So receptionist need not be sitting only in the reception handling our calls and so on and so forth, but probably handling mails, not only calls, greeting guests, passing information, managing the lobby, and there are a host of other activities that keeps on adding on, piling up. So that is what a role clarity is all about. It. Next comes succession planning. So we all plan our career, even the organization plans career for the competent employee. Similarly, every individual would love to see himself or herself in due courses of time, let's say 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time from any point of time where they do say it, see themselves. What are the growth plans? Accordingly, we restructure competency mapping. Accordingly, we gain new insight, new skills, new knowledge, so that I, as an individual, I, as an employee, might fit into the higher echelon of the profile of an organization. So inventory of competency for future planning is must. So, need for competency mapping, which is training and development, recruit and selection, career planning, performance appraisal, succession planning, compensation, replacement planning. Now, what does it encompass? It encompasses human resource development system as a whole. It There is not one arena wherein competency doesn't fit in. So every arena has to be covered by competency mapping. Now, steps in competency mapping. Decide on the position for which competency needs to be mapped. Identify the location of the position in the structure, in the organogram of the company, which, mind you, every individual position is vital for the success of the organization. Once you've identified the position, can we have the objectives to the position? If the objectives to the position is very clear, then probably we can do competency profiling and then find out the relevant person who can be suited or appointed for that particular position. So once you have identified the objective, why does the position exist? You need to ascertain the validity of the requirement, collect the KPIs or key performance areas or key result areas, as the case might be, for the position holder for past some years, maybe a couple of years, for performance appraisal records and so on and so forth. Now, we are trying to map the competencies of a person with the job. So, interview the position holder to list the task, the activities that is expected to perform them by the individual. Group them in a set of tasks. And this task may be as many as 15 or 20. Remember, I keep on referring back to the example of the receptionist. A receptionist might have so many tasks and intricacies tasks which is included. Probably some of them are very vital. There are regular routine mails that he or she has to respond to on behalf of the company. Remember, the word is routine. As competencies from, probably that is it. Now, interview the position holder to list actual KSA or knowledge, skills, and attitude and other competencies for required to performing the job effectively. We need to do this thing a number of times with all positions set members, which if you can do it with every position in the organization, believe me, your machinery, the organization would be a very oiled machinery altogether. It will work as smooth as possible. Consolidate the list of tasks, the list of competencies by each of the position. Edit and definitely present it in front of your management for final approval and implementation. So, effect of competency mapping on other HRD systems absolutely been covered out here. Is the recruitment, is the performance management. If you look into it, and we have it the complete gamut out here, be it training, be it development, be it compensation. Competency based recruitment. Now we come to appointing of an individual for a particular job, as the case might be, is a process of recruitment based on the ability of the candidate to produce anecdotes about their professional experiences, which can be used as evidence that the candidates had a competency. So there might be an emergency situation, there might be some exigency, there might be a position or situation which needs to be highlighted wherein they have handled the situation in the right fashion, and that leaves instills a sense of confidence and urgency on behalf of the company and the employees altogether. A competency based approach to recruitment and selection staff can help an organization to have little or no loss of man days. The moment a person has been appointed, he or she starts delivering from the moment go. So it is an effective and successful investment of time, successful investment of money, and most importantly, it is successful investment of our expertise. These approaches, why are they required? Because it encourages a good fit between the individuals, their jobs, their managers, their staff, and the team in short. We'll talk about performance management system. Integrating competencies within performance management suppose the provision of feedback. This is very important. Feedback to the employees. The employee needs to be coached. The employee needs to be informed. The employee needs to be monitored, and they will be on their toes on what they have accomplished, how they have accomplished. Was it good? Was it bad? What can have been done better? So integrating competencies in performance management system helps in understanding performance expectation by the employees, helps in providing definitive feedback, at times positive, for the employees' training achievements and on the job performances. Having a set standard of performance appraisal, it is very clarifying and very satisfying for employee to know that they are doing good at their job, provides a clear direction to new job skills. Now, talking about job skills is what competency based training is all about. It is an important characteristics of competency based training that it is focused not only on the actual jobs that are required in the workplace, but also the ability to transfer and apply knowledge, skills, attitude to the emerging situation, to the emerging environment, to unexpected or undocumented facet of the organization. That is where your merit applies. So, advantages of having a CBT or competency based training. Participants will achieve competencies required to performance in their job. Please understand. And if they have this requirement on the performance of their job, automatically it will build confidence in them. These confidence can be documented as a transcript or list of achievement on behalf of employees. Development. Competencies are the need of the hour, and designing appropriate competency development model is an utmost necessity. Why? I'll tell you why. There are three things that I've already written down for you in the slide. It improvises on the organizational profitability, performance, and productivity. Everything matters. All the three P's matters. Be it productivity, be it performance, and be it profitability. Next, it instills a confidence in employees' capability for the organization's future requirements. Then the employee and the organization are made for each other. This is where we can analyze if any gaps are existing can be fulfilled. That is what needs to be done as far as competencies and development are concerned. Coming back to compensation management, competency based pays fit the present environment, fit this dynamic environment. It provides an ongoing incentives to employees to enhance their ability to perform on their job. So it instills confidence in me. Definitely yes. It Why does it instill confidence? Because I have the requisite competencies. I keep on performing well in the job. Once I keep on performing well in the job, probably I deserve a raise in my pay. So what does it mean altogether? There is a sense of loyalty, there is a sense of achievement. Most importantly, there is a sense of future looking, both for the organization and the person. So this system fits everyone. We come to the next slide. It's you look at it, different levels of employees that we are talking about. Level one would be having a basic command over basic fact, whereas level two would be all about social skills and abilities, all about people management skills, and level three would be all about managerial creativity, mental agility. Now these are the things that goes around it. Level one is basic relevant professional knowledge, continuing sensitivity of events, analytical skills, probably mostly everything which is onto the ground level and routine based. So one, we have basic information, then we have something called skills, which can be in between, interspread between level 1 employees and level 2 employees. And there are with the level 3 employees, they're actually at the higher end of the thinking skill and probably looking at the learning curve of an organization, and the organization needs to adapt to the emerging trends, to the dynamic thing. And that is what the meta qualities is all about it. And this leads to a successful manager. So, assessment and feedback based on competencies. position requirement. Please understand, this is very true, because what is required in a position is what is required, what is must. Process design and job design. How do we go about the job and what exactly the job is? Then comes the fulfillment of position. Now, here the man or the employee or the woman in question would be looked into fitting of the position requirement. So, we go for recruitment, we go for qualification, selection, orientation, induction, training. Once this has been done, the position requirement and the fulfillment is been done altogether successfully, we come with the performance thing. Remember, everything that can be measured, can be developed, can be managed. Performance management. If there is a parity between requirement and fulfillment, there is something called performance management. And those who definitely excel, probably they have been promoted. Those who don't needs to be trained upon, and succession needs to be going around the key area. So what we're talking about, competency, this is competency. This is all about assessment and feedback based on competency. We are talking nothing but competency. So competencies based assessment ensures agreement on the performance criteria, both from the management standpoint of view and the employee standpoint of view. What is to be expected and what was achieved. This is a very relevant and sufficient data. It also ensures opportunities to supervisor to observe behaviors, specificity, concreteness in discussion about performance deficiency. Now, provides shared understanding of what will be monitored. Remember, anything that can be monitored can be measured, and anything that can be measured can be have a competency mapping. This is very relevant altogether. The knowledge, skills, and other characteristics KSO that are important to success are clearly described. It provides you a direction. It provides you a roadmap of where to begin and discuss what areas to focus on. Tools for achieving, last but not the least, tools for achieving developing competencies are literature review. Please read big thing. There are Fortune 500 companies working upon it. They are improvising on a day to day basis. If we can do some literature review, then there is something called focus group. Now, focus group can be related to your industry. What are the benchmark within your industry? We can have a structural interviews. We have behavioral events interviews wherein we actually talk it out as to what the critical incident that has been occurred or might have occurred, could have been occurred. We can have a survey and observation. Now these are all the tools to collect information to build upon our competency mapping skills. And with we come to an end for this particular topic. Hope all of you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.